Hello, welcome back to the interface. My name's Alex and today we're looking at the GWM Ora Funky Cat. Now this looks quite an interesting little car. It's really good fun to drive. Now if you haven't heard of the Ora brand, it's a Chinese brand that's under the GWM umbrella, so that's Great Wall Motors. In the UK we've only really had like one pickup truck from that company. All the other brands they've got are sort of in other areas, not really the UK, but Ora was launched in the UK this time last year. This car was debuted in the UK 2 years ago. And it's been on sale for about a year so far. Little electric car, it's got some Mini styling, some Porsche styling on it, and that makes sense because the designer of this car used to work at Porsche as well. So I bet you're wondering what it is. Well, it's a little electric car, about the size of a VW Polo, if not a little bit bigger. Sort of on video and in pictures, it looks smaller than it actually is, but it's actually quite a bigger car than you think it is. You'd think it'd be sort of Mini Cooper sort of size, but it's actually not. So this particular car is the first edition. They haven't expanded the lineup since the car was launched last year, so they've only really had the first edition, which is 31,995. This car was supposed to be 25 grand when it was announced 2 years ago. They've also got the first edition plus, which is limited to 50 units. That's got a sunroof, massaging seats, heated seats and much more, and that's a little bit more money than this one. And this one, as tested, is 32,790. That's because of the paint, which is 795. And then the only colour that is free on this car is like a mint green. It's called Nebula Green. So every other one is a paid option, unfortunately. So under the hood, we've got a 48 kilowatt hour battery with 193 miles of range. This supports rapid charging. There is some mixed messages online. It says it supports up to 100 kilowatts. It doesn't. It supports maximum of 64 kilowatts. It also supports 6.6 kilowatts. You'll get the battery 15 to 80% in 5 hours, 24 minutes, and then 11 kilowatt at 3 hours, 12 minutes. There is a larger battery with the first edition plus. That's got a 63 kilowatt hour battery pack, and that's got good enough for 260 miles of range, and it supports 67 kilowatt charging. So a little bit faster than this one, but it's not the 100 kilowatt, 150 kilowatt that we're used to in sort of cars this size right now. So just look around the front of the Ora Funky Cat. We've got these nice friendly headlights, sort of mini style headlights. They look like Porsche style headlights as well. We've also got these little humps on the bonnet there, sort of reminiscent of a Porsche Cayman, I think. And this one has got quite a nice two-tone interior, which you also get on the red one as well. So we've got sort of the like bluey green with the beige interior. Around the front we've got the exclamation point logo there, quite a large number plate as well. And we've got some little vents and the radiator grille down there. And then there's some little nice styling cues I like. These sort of hexagons which sort of fade into the bodywork. Look quite interesting. So you've got the main lights here, and there's no secondary lights down the bottom as you find on other cars. This houses the indicators, daytime running lights, main headlights, and they sort of animate in a nice friendly way when you unlock and lock the car, which is quite cool. But what do you think about the Ora Funky Cat? Do you like it? What do you think about the styling on it? It looks quite reminiscent of a Mini or a Porsche, as I said. But I kind of like the design of this car. So what's the Ora Funky Cat like to drive? Well, I've driven it around quite a lot this week, and it's really good. There's a few software things on it which need fixing. So these automatic steering features, the roads in the UK don't lend itself well to those safety systems you find on cars now. So it does like to interfere quite a bit, but apart from that, it's really lovely to drive. We've got a lovely thin steering wheel. A thin steering wheel to me, I'm just a massive fan of it. The throttle position on the car is really precise, so you can sort of get like millimetres of travel on the throttle pedal, and you'll move very slowly. There's very good accuracy on the throttle pedal, which is really good in stop-start traffic and that sort of thing. Ride quality is good as well. There's quite a bit of road noise from the tyres, which for this sort of price point, I kind of expect it, kind of not expect it. There could have been some better work with the soundproofing on this car. There's no wind noise from the mirrors or the roof or anything, but quite a bit of road noise from the front of the car. I think there could be some better sound insulation on the front just there, but that's not too bad though. The ride quality is good as well, so it seems to absorb quite a lot of the usual bumps and things on the British roads. Massive potholes or bigger craters in the road, obviously you do feel them. It's not a luxury car by any means, but the general consensus is with it that the suspension's quite soft, and you'll have a good time driving it around town really. However, the driving experience is sort of tarnished by some of the safety systems that Ora have put on this car. I do understand that has helped it get a 5-star crash rating, and I'd include some crash ratings from the NCAP as well. It is an impressive car if you do have an accident. But there are a lot of safety systems which I would like turned off really when I get back in the car. So every time I've got in the car this week, it's been a sort of little routine of turning off certain things in the infotainment system, like the emergency steering function, which gets very confused on our British roads here. Also the one pedal driving mode I want turned on every time, and even though I've turned it on every time, it does seem to turn itself off quite often as well, which is infuriating. There's also the driver monitoring system, which is if you glance at the radio for a few seconds to change the radio station, even if it's safe, it just gets very intrusive, and there's a lot on it which you can't turn off. So even if you get to 25% battery as well, which is good enough for 50 miles of range, it will just constantly ask you, do you want to find a charging station? Do you want to find a charging station? So some of the electronic stuff on this car I'm not a massive fan of. It does get quite jarring. Even after a week, it's a bit annoying. I can imagine after a few months, you just be blind fed up with it, to be honest. But the rest of the car does definitely make up for that. So just looking at the side of the car, we've got quite a nice sort of friendly shape. It's sort of reminiscent of a Vauxhall Adam, I think, in certain places. There's quite a lot of other cars going on here. And it's quite a retro design, which I quite like, especially the wheels as well. Got this nice shoulder line here, so it sort of swoops up here on the front of the car, and sort of dives down in the middle and sort of goes back up the rear of the car there. So it's quite a nice swoopy design. This particular car has got the two-tone colour, so we've got a white door mirrors, got a white roof there, and you can get other colours that aren't two-tone if it's not your cup of tea. There's nothing really going on down the side there, so there's no sill to stick out and hit your leg. The wheels are really interesting. They're sort of quite retro designed, and they are 18-inch alloy wheels. Some really nice alloys on this car. These are the only options you can get. And then on this particular car, we have 215/50 R18 tyres. At the time of the preview, back in 2021, Ora did say there was going to be some different alloy designs, but those haven't materialised just yet. And then to get in the car, you've got a little capacitive button on the driver's side door handle here, so you can press that and it will unlock and lock the car. Doesn't always work first time, but it is quite nice to have it. And on the Ora Funky Cat, the charging port is on this side, so you've got the CCS2 combo connector there and the Type 2 port for slow charging overnight at home, and also public AC chargers. So just looking at the inside of the Ora Funky Cat, we've got a really nice sort of modern retro-esque interior. There's bits of other cars like the exterior, so we've got the mini style switches down here, so we've got sort of the controls for the climate control system. Not too much is on the screen, so you can't really adjust the temperature from down here, but at least you can turn it on and off, turn on the air conditioning, and sort of quick shortcuts to demist the windscreens. There's elements of the Fiat 500 down here as well. We've got these stripes for the center console. We've got a nice rotary dial for the gears. Only problem with this gear selector is that it spins indefinitely. So rotary dials are supposed to sort of have fixed positions for rear, neutral and drive, so you can do it without looking. But with this, you have to look at what you're doing, so you have to check that the light is lighting up for the different gear you're selecting. It's just a preference thing. It's not going to be a problem for most people, I don't think, but just I like to have a physical feedback so you don't have to look at what you're doing down here, which could take your eyes off the road if you're reversing in a car park and you could not see something coming. My favourite part of the interior has got to be the steering wheel, I think. It's really thin and it makes it feel quite luxury, so we're sort of used to quite chunky steering wheels nowadays. And Ora, again on the Lightning Cat, sort of the next generation Ora they've got coming next year, has got, again, like got a really nice thin steering wheel. It just makes it feel quite dainty, or makes it feel quite luxury. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but it's a really nice steering wheel to use. Got some buttons with some backlighting. They look like haptic buttons, but they are physical buttons here, so that's pretty nice as well. Parts of the interior are really, really good quality. Parts of it are a little bit, I'm not too sure about it. So sort of eye level, so without looking too far down, you've got this nice sort of material. It's like a soft material with plastic behind it, with a bit of stitching for the whole dash there. Got some quite rough plastic here. It looks nice. It doesn't feel too bad. One thing I'm not too sure about, it looks really naff in my opinion, is the first edition badge. So you've got this nice font that Ora have been using on their marketing, and it's got like plumber's putty behind it. I'm not too sure what the decision behind that was, but it looks really naff. So we've got some USB ports here. We've got a 12-volt socket as well. On this particular car, there is a USB to play music, but at the moment in the UK, as of recording, which is the 3rd of November, Ora haven't yet put Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto or any sort of smartphone mirroring on this car yet. I did speak to a guy from Ora, and he did say that the first edition Plus models have had a beta copy of the software to have that on the car, but these models don't yet have it, and it's going to come very soon apparently. That has been promised for the last, got to be a year now, when the first reviews came out of this car last year. And then when the car was announced back in 2021, they said at the time it was going to have wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. But as of yet, it hasn't yet materialised. It does make the experience of driving the car and sort of living with the car a little bit more difficult, because I'm so used to having Apple CarPlay on a car. But the built-in sat-nav isn't too bad. It definitely does work. Down here in the centre console, we've got a wireless phone charging pad, a little cubby to store the key, which is quite nice. Got the handbrake and the auto hold button, and then centre console, that's really nice and deep. That's really useful space. Down there's a little wireless pad for the key, and then 2 little cup holders. Those cup holders are too close together in my opinion. like two Costa Cups are a bit awkward sat next to each other. They need to be a little bit further apart or a little bit bigger as well. Probably a little bit further apart actually. There was some space to do that, but not too bad. And then the little glove box here, so you push that button in and it opens very slowly. And then we've got a little sort of fake leather wallet here that says Ora on it, and there's some bits and pieces in here like paperwork. And then looking on the driver's side here, we've got some buttons down here. We've got the driver modes, which we'll demo later. Headlight switcher, you can open the tailgate, and there's an on and off button as well. I only need to realise what that was for. It's not very clear what it's for. It's got a lightning bolt with an arrow drawn through it. I'd expect sort of a stop-start button in these sort of cars, but electric cars now are doing away with stop-start buttons, which is a bit of an interesting decision in my opinion. So yeah, it was when I was getting out of the car, it would play the radio and it would whinge about the key not being in the car. So make sure to click that button before we get out of the car, and then it will stop whinging about things being left in. And then down here, I've got this really lovely sort of dark, it looks like wood, but it's definitely plastic. And you've got window switches for the doors, folding mirrors, and then you can adjust the mirrors as well. And you've got a lock and unlock button as well for the car. And then up here we've got the DMS system, so the driver monitoring system. And that is sort of a camera watching you to make sure you're paying attention to the road. So I was adjusting something on the screen the other day, and it just warned me and said just pay attention to the road. And then I yawned as well. It said don't drive tired, which is quite hilarious. You can switch that off, but it does switch itself back on every time you get back in the car, which is a bit of a pain, but it's not too bad. And then up here we've got a sunglasses holder with a bit of sort of felt lining. We've got two little lights which you control with that light there. I can't figure out how to get the lights to come on every time you open the door like in a normal car. It might be something in the software which I haven't just found yet. But then some SOS buttons up here, and also the airbag switches as well. And then finally the sun visors. We've got little mirrors in there and no lights or anything, so you can't check yourself out in the dark. And there's another one that side. So pretty nice interior. Really love the design. Again, this very thin steering wheel. We've got some very nice styling cues in the car here. And then for the infotainment, we've got a 10.25-inch touchscreen spread across two displays. So we've got one for the driver and one for the infotainment. So make sure the key's in the car, and you can start the car by pressing the brake pedal. And we've got support for a lot of features here. As I mentioned, there's no Apple CarPlay on this car. There is online radio services, a DAB local radio. There's also music you can load from a USB stick or your phone as well. For more information on the infotainment on the Ora Funky Cat, how to use it, what it does, all the features, check out our video in the description down below and in the top right hand corner, where I go over everything you need to know about the infotainment system on the Ora Funky Cat. So in terms of performance, we've got a 48 kilowatt hour battery pack underneath the car, driving a front mounted electric motor, driving the front wheels as well. It's 171 PS or 168 brake horsepower, 250 newton meters of torque, and that's good enough for 0 to 60 in 8.3 seconds. We've got some drive modes down here, so if I put it to sport mode, we get some nice noises and we get a bit more steering feel. So if I give it a boot round here, so the top end of the motor does seem to be lacking a little bit. The Ora Cat is good at acceleration down the lower ends, like 30 to 50 or something, those sort of lower end speeds, but definitely when you're at the sort of the higher end speeds, sort of trying to get a bit of acceleration, it not as fast as it seems, but 0 to 60 in 8.3 seconds for a car that weighs 1.5 tons is not bad at all. And for what this is going to be used for, sort of city use, town use, perfectly fine. So I'm going to pop it back into some of the drive modes here. So I've got Eco, which makes some nice sound effects. I've got automatic mode, which will kick itself into normal when it needs to, and then Eco as well. And I've also got normal, and then sport, and then, yeah. So I'm going to leave my car in automatic mode. So we're just going to look at the efficiency on the Ora Cat now. Around town, around the city and sort of local journeys, it's really good. I've noticed that the range on the car will be very conservative. It will, so if you travel like 5 miles, it might have only gone down by 1 or 2 miles on the gauge here. There's no real way of seeing the percentage without diving into the infotainment screen, which I guess would remove some people's sort of range anxiety a little bit, which is quite good, sort of hiding the percentage from you. And there we go, the emergency steering is enabled again. Sort of hiding the percentage from you, which I guess is a decision they've taken. But when it comes to using the car on the motorway, this car is not very efficient at all. I took on a journey over the weekend, and from the motorway, it was losing range very quickly. So if you had like 27 miles left, the range would be 10 miles above what the journey was, and it was ever so slowly creeping on each other and becoming less and less efficient over time. So I had to pull in and charge it, even though when we planned the journey, we wouldn't have needed to do that. So on the motorway, the Ora Cat is not the most efficient car in the world. It's definitely suited to more around town stuff. I'd imagine the first edition Plus models with that bigger battery pack would be a lot better choice for sort of motorway use. You get a bit more range out of it. Just bear in mind that the range may sort of deplete if you use it on the motorway for any period of time, so sort of sustained speeds of 70 mile an hour. So in terms of efficiency out of the Ora Funky Cat, there are some efficiency numbers I can get from the power screen on this infotainment screen. But I've done 446 miles over the last week, and there is sort of a economical driving guidance system on the screen here. It says 300 watt hours per mile. I'll try and convert that into miles per kilowatt hour if I can, but that's 300 watt hours per mile, and then AEC as well. And it's sort of in the middle between the best and worst driving scores, like a little dial here, so take that with a pinch of salt. So just look at the back of the Funky Cat, and that was nice to get into. There's a lovely sort of wide opening here, so in other cars I've noticed that the door opening is quite sort of hard to get into, there's not enough space. Really nice sort of big door opening here, so it's going to be easy to get, especially kids' chairs in and out of the car, which is really good. And then we've got ISOFIX connected in the back as well. Let's have a look at this headrest a little bit. So one touch headrest, and there's actually a lot of room in here, especially for the segment that this is in. This is sort of a hatchback segment, and the fact that you're going to lose a little bit of height with the battery underneath the car, there's a lot of room. So I don't feel like I'm squatting on the seats. The seat's nice and low down. There's a lot of room underneath the seats. This seat is in my driving position. I'm 5'7", and I've got it in a very comfortable position, maybe back a little bit further than I usually do. But yeah, really spacious interior. I don't feel cramped at all. This light material helps. The lovely green colour on the seats helps as well. Nice big windows, and we've got some nice material on here, sort of nice soft cloth as well. A lot of headroom actually. I'm just sat, if I sit upright actually, yeah, nice decent amount of headroom. Got some grab handles, a little bit of texture on them. Got these nice sort of non-obtrusive rear seats here, so you can see all the way to the front, which is really good. Central armrest with 2 cup holders in them, and again, that's really solid. And these cup holders seem pretty good. Some nice rubber on there. There's no load-through hatch on this sort of car. That's not really a problem. So that feels really good quality. Got a little headrest which sticks out quite far there. There's a central USB port here, so it's little cover feels quite cheap, but it's a central USB-A. So there aren't any USB-C ports in this car, which isn't a massive issue. We are moving towards USB-C, but I suppose USB-A still is good enough. And some nice leatherette seats. It looks like Alcantara on the centre of the seats there, but it's not. It's the leather material. We can unzip these seats to take them off if we need to clean them for any reason, and there are some airbags integrated into those seats there. If we have a quick look at the central seat here, so yeah, no real problem there. You don't sit much higher than you would do in any other car, I don't think. Got some matte pockets there, which is really nice. And then yeah, I wouldn't mind spending a journey in the back of here. It's pretty decent, to be honest. There's not, yeah, that's really good. There's no sort of central hump there, and there's a lot of space with these doors here, so you're not having too much of the car being blocked, which is really good. There's a little window switch there. It feels a little bit tacky, not too sure. And then there's a little bit of storage in the door there. So all in all, the rear seats are really good. Got those ISOFIX connectors for the kids. We've also got the 3 seats in the back here, like any other hatchback. So really impressed with the back seats in the Ora Funky Cat. And then for the rear of the car, we've got this nice clean design. It's quite bulbous and quite large. And we've got this lovely sort of brake light, which is sort of integrated into the glass here. So it's actually behind the tinted glass. And there's some, it animates really lovely when you unlock and lock the car. Little spoiler here, we've got another brake light there, and it's got this quite small window here. And one of the major flaws with this car is there's no rear wiper. So because of the design of the car, there's nothing to protect the rear window. This window gets filthy quite quickly. So when it rains and it's all got dirt, and especially now being the winter time of the year, it gets very dirty very quickly, and you can't really see out the back, which is a bit useless really. So in the future, I hope Ora integrate a rear wiper into this. So it's sort of a small one just to sort of cover the centre of the window, but it would be quite a nice addition. And then we've got the Ora badge. There's no logo for the company. It's got one on the front, one on the steering wheel, but just the Ora name. That's quite a trend with cars at the moment. Some of the early models said Funky Cat on the left-hand side here, but that's been removed. And then we've got GWM on this side here. Nice large number plate there, little diffuser with a central braking light there. And we've got sort of a nice smooth design on the bottom there. Rear parking sensors, and then these little indicator lights there as well. To open the boot, there's a little tiny button there just underneath, sort of to the left of the R, little sort of rubber thing to push, and then you open the boot. Quite a light boot there, it doesn't open up quite as far as I'd like. A tiny little parcel shelf there, which doesn't have any string to open it. It doesn't really need to open at all. You can get things in and out of the boot quite easily. No netting other side, no storage in the arches there at all. And this boot is 228 litres with the seats up. And you can also fold the seats down using these little toggles here. So just close that headrest to fold the seats down, so we can pull that toggle, sort of a one-handed operation. We can do it all from the back, which is quite nice. And once that's all folded down, that is 858 litres of boot space. No flat floor here, so you can see here we've got quite a big lip there. And then underneath this boot floor here, there's a little pocket there, which I tried to get the granny charger in there, the 3-pin socket. It wouldn't really fit in there, and there's a bag there which is sort of velcro to the floor. So the charging cables do impede on the boot space. It would have been nice if Ora had put a frunk in the car where you could store the charging cables, especially as the charging port is on the side of the car there. But overall, the sort of the segment this car's in, the amount of boot space it's got is actually pretty good. It's just a shame that it's not a flat floor there, and we've lost quite a bit of boot space because the charging cable's there. One thing to bear in mind with this car is that the traction control system doesn't seem to be the best tuned. So when you're turning out of a junction, it does seem to light up the wheels quite quickly, the front wheels. And one or two times I've heard it's like a smell of the tyres, they've sort of burnt a little bit. But just bear that in mind when you're sort of accelerating out of a junction. Just be mindful how much pressure or travel you're putting on the accelerator pedal. And then lastly, in terms of visibility, the visibility in the car, sort of the rear pillars at the back of the car are quite large, and then the rear window doesn't have a rear wiper. So now we're getting into the winter months, you're using this car for a long period of time without washing it. The rear window is going to be covered in dirt, and you're not going to be able to see quite that easily. The rain has washed it off, so I can see some amount of stuff out the rear window, but it's not ideal, and I do wish they put a rear wiper on this car. But when you're parking using the camera system, the 360-degree camera system is really crisp, really, really good quality. When you're parking, that's a real big help, and turning into junctions or parking at a curb, the camera system automatically comes on. It knows exactly what to do. You indicate and it will give you your blind spot. So in terms of the camera system on the Ora Funky Cat, they've done an exceptional job. As I said, really, really crisp, so I'm really impressed with that system. So in terms of what I think about the Ora Funky Cat, really, really good car. It has depreciated quite a lot. So when this first came out last year, they were £31,000 or £32,000. That's what they cost brand new as well. And you can pick up one that's a 1 year old that's only done 10 miles or Auto Trader for £23,000. So it has depreciated quite a lot. I think there's a few things that Ora need to improve on this car. So the lack of CarPlay is one. The safety systems, I know they're important for the crash rating. They've managed to achieve a 5-star crash rating pretty well. And judging by the footage I've seen, it does seem to do very well in emergency situations. We've got a cyclist coming out of nowhere, a pedestrian coming out of nowhere, that sort of thing. So I think Ora have done a very good job in terms of the safety of the car, but there are a few things on the software I would like changed if it was my car. But overall, it's a really, really good car. The steering wheel, as I said, is really lovely. The infotainment's quite good. It needs CarPlay, but a lot of the controls feel really good quality. A lot of the materials in here feel really good quality. So in terms of our whole package, Ora have done a good job, but there is some room for improvement. If you want to learn more about the interface, have a look at the interface.uk. Thanks for watching this video. My name's Alex, and we'll see you again next time.